Am I F18 the asshole for cutting my friend F17 off for not going to a Halloween party with me? A few weeks ago Elisa asked if I wanted to go to a Halloween party with her and get matching costumes. I agreed and told her to make sure we had a party to go so we didn't buy costumes for nothing. She said there would be some, so we bought our costumes that costed $70. A few days before Halloween I asked her if she found a party and she said no, so I asked some friends and I gave her two choices. A college party on Friday and told her there might be a fire on Saturday, but the girl wasn't sure if she was having it. I told her to let me know on Thursday, so plans were set. Thursday night Elisa texted me and said we should just stay at her other friend's house, Katie F15. I let Elisa know that I wouldn't be comfortable hanging out with Katie because of what happened last time we hung out. A little backstory: Elisa was asking me to stay over. I said I didn't know because I had work the next day. She convinced me to stay over and said that we would just chill and watch movies, do homework. I agreed, and a little bit before leaving my house Elisa called and asked if I could pick up Katie and that she would give me $10 for gas. After convincing me again, I agreed and picked her up. I felt left out the rest of the night and wanted to go home, but didn't because I know that Elisa would get upset if I left, as she has got mad at me for doing that before. This was the text I sent her. With you and Katie, I took my time to go pick her up and then listen to you guys talk the whole car ride like I was your Uber. I just sat there not talking or anything cause I wasn't included in the conversation. Then I had to move to the end of the bed because you guys wanted to talk. I sat there talking photos of you guys the whole night together. When you asked me to come over, you said it would be a chill night, just hanging out, doing homework and going to bed earlier. Then you just threw the plans out the window because Katie was there. You guys played loud music, and when I asked if you could turn it off, you just brushed me off. I don't want that to happen again. Elisa got upset and started naming of times I made her feel left out. One example she gave me was walking around with her other friend while shopping instead of coming to the bathroom with her, and said that I could have included myself in the pictures and not moved to the end of the bed when Katie asked. Back to the story, I then asked if she wasn't gonna come party with me and told her to let me know so I could find another friend to go with if she didn't want to go. Friday night she was texting me about how it sounded fun, then a few minutes later sent me a message asking me not to be mad and that she was just gonna stay home because she was exhausted, tired, and felt like shit. She said we would go to parties this summer, but I told her I would be working and be prepping for college, then reminded her that we paid $70 each for these costumes that we weren't gonna be using. I let it go and found another friend to party with and had a great night. A few hours after she sent me that text, I saw that her and Katie were hanging out and got upset because she said she was exhausted, tired, and felt like shit. I messaged her, "This is how the conversation went. Me Sam, really? So you don't feel good but you can hang out with Katie? Elisa, we are laying in fucking bed together. Why are you mad about that? I would have been down to watch a movie and sleep with you. Me Sam, Yeah, just like last time when you said you would do that with me, Elisa. You never reach out to me, except this plan. Me Sam. The point is you had to lie to me to not hang out saying you were sick and exhausted and just felt like shit. I reached out to you to hang out last time, and for the last few days for the Halloween party, Elisa, I am sick and exhausted. My brother has a 104 temp. Me Sam. Okay, I don't even care, I'm just not gonna try anymore. Elisa. Okay, then don't. You hardly reach out to hang out and I'm always texting you first, so just don't try. I told you I felt like shit. I said we can try tomorrow for a party if I feel better, and you said before you were going to find someone else, and I said okay. Shit ain't that deep, like goddamn. You saw my mom's text. She did eventually show me her mom's text, and she said that she had to help out with her younger brothers and would prefer her to stay home. I also go to school and work after, so I only have Friday nights, Saturday and Sundays free. While occasionally work on Saturdays and Sundays. So I don't have a lot of time to hang out as we live in different towns and I have a boyfriend. Other friends and family to hang out with. I try to balance things out, but it's difficult. It's been 3 days since that and I'm starting to wonder AITAH. How to write a eulogy that won't upset his real children or my real mother. I want to write something for my granddad, but he was so much more than a granddad to me, but his real life. Especially his daughter can be hard to handle, and my grandmother doesn't want to offend them or ruin their goodbye to their dad. There's a lot of history, etc., so I'll write it below. Grandmother has also been a mother to me and I love her as if she is my mother being more of a moody big sister. But do you think it's possible to show how much someone meant to you without going into the details, etc.? Or offending someone or other? Not sure if it should just be from me, or if I write something from all the grandkids, as the others are much younger than me, but he really was granddad to them. To me, in a way, he was dad, and I wish he was my real dad, because if he was I wouldn't be feeling so lost in space and totally without a place in the world. He was always the one to make me feel wanted. God. One day when I was 16 I was causing a scene and being a brat and saying I wanted my father, and for the first time ever he shouted at me. It was, "I'm your bloody father," and he was right. He was my father. So for some context, my granddad met my grandmother in 1993, 3 years before I was born. He was previously married to a woman who didn't know what luck she has and cheated on him. He has 3 children from this marriage, but they don't know why the marriage broke down, because he never wanted to cause a rift with their mother despite it probably being something they needed to know, as it affected his relationship with them negatively. I believe they think he just upped and left, but in reality found a man in the house with his wife while his youngest was only a few months old and in a crib. It's pretty vile in my opinion. He moved to Wales to live with my grandmother and her 2 daughters. One is my mother, and he immediately became part of the family. My great-grandparents loved him. My mother and auntie loved him. My granddad's ex-husband considered him his best friend. Even Granddad's ex-husband's new wife loved him and her daughter thought the world of him too. I came along in 1996 when my mother was 17, and my real dad was not always present. Her granddad paid for everything for him. Helped him to be a better man, but mental illness etc. was too much and he kept vanishing. So Granddad took over but somehow managed to be respectful to real dad at the same time. He paid for everything. He took me on holidays. He had me live with him and Grandma and treated me like I was his daughter too. Grandma even said to me yesterday while I was crying about not really being his child, even though it's all I've ever truly wanted, "Well, you were our daughter really, weren't you?" I needed to hear that so badly. I wrote a letter to him when I realized it was terminal and I told him that I thought he was my daddy, and I detailed times where he was far more than a grandfather. I believe I said that my first time attempting to take my life, I'm glad it was him there. And even if my real dad had been in the hospital, it's Granddad I would have been holding on to anyway. He never judged. He always listened. He saved me from anorexia and he knew when I was bulimic how to stop the purges and help me control my portions etc. He just knew. And honestly, what I'm saying here does him no justice because he was so wonderful that there aren't any words. He was my savior and hero. And people say you should never meet your heroes, but mine is my granddad and I lived with him from the day I was born, on and off till his last day on earth. I don't think I even wish I could go back and have better biological parents tbh, because I had every single thing I needed with him and my grandmother. They love me and that's all I'll ever need in my life now. They showed me what family should be and what it is and never ever left me out. They knew what I was born into wasn't my fault and they'd never blame a little girl for their parents' fuck-ups. They just loved that little girl unconditionally and gave her the moon on a stick. But anyway, my auntie has 2 kids. One 12-year-old boy and a 9-year-old girl, and my God did he love them. He was there when Auntie gave birth and was one of the first to hold her son, and when the girl came along he was taken immediately. She is a little ginger thing like I was, and luckily for them they have the most amazing and loving parents. And they also got to be super close with Granddad and Grandmother. I am so happy for them and I love them so much. The days they were born I count some of the happiest in my life and every time I see them they make my day brighter and I see them a lot. Now that he's gone, he's left all the money to Grandmother, which is a hefty sum. But his bio kids get every bit of musical memorabilia and instrument he had, which hurts because they didn't even bother to see him when he was dying. One son is honeymooning and didn't tell Granddad he was even engaged, let alone getting married. It's very lucky his daughter and youngest son were there the night before he died so he got to see them. His daughter also has her own daughter and Granddad was so pleased that he got to see her too. She is 7, and there's a lot of love he holds for them. But at the same time lamented TK grandmother that everything should be ours because we were always there, but the will says otherwise. I'm not bitter about that. Well, I am in a way, because they don't appreciate his love and taste. The collection is valued at over 40K, but also I'm just glad grandmother has the money and will be well looked after because she deserves it. I will sneak a few records that mean a lot to me out of the collection, and grandma will cover tracks. His daughter was very unkind to my grandmother in previous years, but has mellowed a bit and started treating her a bit better. I think Granddad finally saw it and had a word with her. In fact, in the hospital, to show what she can be like, I said to his son that I was so bloody sorry, and his response, "No, I'm so sorry for you." Whereas she just turned away from me and started talking to someone else. That hurt. She's nothing like her father, she just looks like him. But it's what she did to grandmother, always blanking her and acting like she doesn't exist. That was the worst day of my life, and I know she's actually his child, so is hurting so much and is maybe a bit jealous of how close we were. But, well, I wasn't brought up to treat people like that even in the worst of times. I want to write something about him to read at the funeral, but I know I can't say what I want to because of the kids, especially his daughter. They may take offense. I want to say, look, he stepped up to the plate when no one would, and loved so fiercely it transcended everything, and I am so lucky I had him to be my father figure. If not just my father, because right now all I wish when I go to bed at night is that I really was him and grandmother's biological daughter Bexus. I can't think of anything better. I want to say how he was so good. My daydreams were that I'd come home and he'd have official adoption papers. I want to say thank you to him even if he's in a coffin, and say how everything I have that is good, or have done that is a good, is a testament to him and his never-ending patience, oodles of love to give and a wonderful want to help anyone. But also I don't want my niece and nephew, I know they are cousins but I've always called them that, to feel left out, or like they weren't special to their granddad. They really were special to him, and my niece has been sending texts to his phone promising she'll look after our grandmother and she'll make sure grandmother is never alone. Is there any way or anything I can write, do you think? Or will I just not be satisfied? Again, I just want to tell the whole world and congregation just how good he was, because no one has any idea the depths of his love in that way. He always wanted to make sure my real mother wasn't hurt, etc., because I chose grandparents over her at a young age. And I consider my grandmother to be my mother, and she knows this but always tells me not to say it in front of anyone who might repeat it to my mother. My real mother is in denial and bitter about bloody everything. Today she went off in a huff. Bevaus, my auntie, is executor of his estate and she isn't, like it's some bloody competition. Girlfriend F23 of a year cried and suddenly asked if I am 25, thought she cheated on me. Is her reaction normal? About a month ago when my girlfriend was staying over my house, we were going through flights on her phone for me to meet her in North Carolina. We had talked about this trip months prior, but she claimed she had spontaneously planned the flight without me because she Figured I didn't actually want to go despite agreeing to go with her, resulting in me needing to get separate tickets. She does have ADHD and constantly forgets things, but that was the first time I felt like she didn't really view the relationship as serious as I did. While we were going through her phone looking at flights, I wanted to take a closer look at the prices and asked to see her phone. She pulled it back and kept looking herself in silence. Maybe 10 seconds passed and she turned and asked me what was wrong. I claimed nothing was wrong, I was just looking along with her, and questioned why she asked. She said I got quiet and that she felt like something was off. I laughed it off and insisted both of us were quiet and that we don't have to constantly be talking. It was fine until she suddenly started tearing up and asked if I thought she was cheating on me, saying I could go through her phone if I wanted. I insisted that I just had nothing to say and it never crossed my mind that she would do that. I refused to go through her phone and she went on to say that she would never do such a thing and went in for a kiss and then tried to have sex with me. We fooled around a bit, but I tapped out halfway through because I was so taken back by the whole situation. We do have access to each other's phone passcodes and she has admitted to going through my phone messages before, and she says I can ask her to see anything if I feel the need to. Later that night I explained that I didn't think she was cheating on me, but the way she reacted made me feel like something was up. She said she just assumed I thought the worst when she wouldn't give me her phone and that she would never hurt anybody like that because she's been cheated on twice in the past, which we had talked about early in our relationship. There were never accusations from my end about her cheating, but she had frequently asked if I was cheating on her for months until that point, and still does say she worries about me cheating on her. We've met each other's families and the relationship has been great otherwise, and I don't want to ruin a good relationship because I'm overthinking. I'm wondering if her reaction is a normal reaction for someone who has dealt with cheating and toxic exes, or if the guilt of doing something wrong overwhelmed her. TL. Dr. girlfriend burst into tears and tried having sex with me after asking if I thought she was cheating on me. I feel like she just has had bad experience in past relationships and worries about cheating way too often, but I wonder if she's hiding something.